You know, being young, you didn't understand discrimination, and even if you saw it, it was the way things were. My parents would warn us about things, but I don't actually remember. My only memory of that is I had a friend that spoke Spanish in school, and that was a big no-no back in the day. You didn't speak Spanish. My friend was told by the principal as her punishment for speaking Spanish, she had to go stand by the flagpole in the noonday sun. But as a kid, you don't understand what the meaning of that was. As you got older, okay, I get it. Okay, you're an American flag, you speak English. And that was the thing and to this day I think about that. And maybe some subtle things, but you know where there was a problem? Over at Camp Warnicki in the swimming pool. I never got a chance to go there. My mother says, you can't go there. Well, I didn't know why. But I do remember vaguely that whole Representative Gonzales and the whole issue that happened when he challenged them when he wasn't allowed to come. And that kind of opened up that whole can of worms. So, and again, I was so young, but I kind of vaguely remember those things being in the news where he wasn't allowed to go, even as a representative of Texas, be told, you can't come and swim here. My dad remembers going to Landa Park and not being allowed to play in the playground. And the movies, you're right, the movies. I think it was a Capitol Theater there on the plaza is where they used to go. And my dad had more experiences and recollection of discrimination, I think, of course, because that's the way it was. He's embarrassed to talk about it. He talks to us about it, but embarrassed. And I said, Dad, he's afraid to embarrass someone else about it. I said, Dad, it has nothing to do with that. It's about, that was life. It's part of our history. And we need to talk about it, that people need to know about. This is the way it was, because people, we love our community and we just don't think bad things happen here. But that's the things that happened, and that was our reality, or his reality more. That was his reality about the way things were. Later on in life, after I graduated from Texas University, there were challenges within the Comal ISD school district. My son was at Canyon High School. We saw some issues, and when you talked about a little bit about discrimination, we began to see some of those issues in the school district. Oh golly, 90s, late 90s maybe, early 90s. Things that were happening to my son just didn't seem right. Came to find out after much investigation, we ended up filing a lawsuit against Comal ISD. There was an investigation, attorneys got involved, and we ended up settling, which was not really the goal for us. The monetary, it was more about trying to change the system. And there were some changes made. People did leave. New blood came in. I ran for school board. In the 50-plus years of the existence of Comal ISD, there had never been a Hispanic on the board. I was the first Hispanic to run.
Congratulations.
And to get elected. I was on the board for about 7 years, and we saw some changes. We had some additional Hispanic members get elected. And so I served for 7 years and felt we had made some changes and got a fast growing school district. When I left, I think we had 10,000 8,000. We're getting up to 10,000, and we thought that was incredible. My understanding is we're close to doubling that now. Looking back, it was probably those subtle kinds of things that growing up you just thought, that's just the way things are. But as you get older and you get educated and things start changing in the world, and you start thinking, that's not right. And without going into a lot of detail, one of the most significant things we saw that was a red flag was my son being told, get a GED, it's just as good as a diploma. Wow. I couldn't believe it. And in another generation, that might have been okay, because that's just the way things were. And nobody would have questioned it. Kind of like when we were told, you don't need to go to college, you're so good with your hands. Be a skilled laborer, because that's what you do. Nobody would have questioned it. So to me, it was kind of akin to that. So, and within the investigation, there were other things that were brought up. And interestingly, though, as a school board member coming in, and I requested to see that investigation, I was never allowed to see it. That was a big red flag for me. What else was in that report?
Yes.
Being new to the school board, I didn't challenge it. And I felt at that time it was better left not read, because I felt regardless of what was in there, it was now my opportunity to make changes from here on forward. I did 7 years there on the school board. I had the awesome opportunity to actually hand my baby son, my last graduate, his diploma. So that was kind of neat too, to be able to do that. And that's kind of how I finished my career with Comal ISD. But we continue to be an awesome school district, fast growing, see those opportunities for our kids. It's growing, and I'm hoping that, you know, in that little way, whatever that might have been, that somehow it made a difference. Somehow, that we were in there and we made some changes and kind of left and said, I did what I could do and move on to something else.